Well, hi everyone. Thanks very much for joining us today's webinar. I'd like to welcome you to this session called Ask Charlene, sharing best practices from their first reading legion. And indeed, I'll be talking with Charlene about what it takes to be a global performer. Charlene, are you here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me? Hi, Adele.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Well,
Hi,
that's
everyone.
So before we get started with this webinar, I quickly want to introduce myself. My name is Adele Sklenarik, BDM for the ANZ region here at the airport. To familiarize yourselves with the platform we're using for this webinar, I first need to mention a few housekeeping things. So all the participants on this call are muted. So if you have any questions during the webinar, please type them. Um, just type your question in the text box in the bottom corner, and at the end of the webinar, we're going to try to answer all of that. So, right, we've got that out of the way. So let's start our exciting conversation with Charlene. Charlene, welcome to Asia Pacific. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you.
Could you please give us a quick introduction? Just jump right in.
Yes, so quick introduction of who I am, I guess, and what I've been doing. So
Sure.
I'm the BDM for France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. I've been there for over 8 years today, and I was before that product manager for information management at Canon France, and before that I was at Canon Europe in the corporate and international team.
So you have quite a bit of background with Canon, and therefore, that's pretty good. So I wanted to ask you, so how is Canon France's sales organization structured in terms of sales channels? So here in Australia, we have a direct channel and an indirect channel with the dealers. And then also we have commission-only sales agent. Is the structure somewhat similar in your region?
We don't have commission-only agents. This is a concept that doesn't exist here in France or Belgium or Luxembourg. We do have a direct channel and we do have an indirect channel. The direct channel has the specificity in France of being split into two, because historically, without going into too much detail, there was a very big reseller with regional offices everywhere called Facsimile, and Canon France bought back the Facsimile reseller a few years ago, about 20 years ago, I think, or 15, and they became a direct channel, but they are still quite independent, and you can feel it in their energy and in the way they work and what they implement. So we have we have two direct channel plus the what we call corporate and international, which are for the big companies, and the indirect channel with loads of resellers, about 400 resellers for MFP, but about 200 active for MFP, and then within that there's let's say 25, 30 resellers that are selling therefore, and 6 to 10 of them which are actively selling therefore. The others are more opportunistic.
That's somewhat similar for us as well in terms of direct and indirect channels. So in terms of revenue, what is the split between the direct and indirect business in France? Could you give us an indication in a percent so we understand where your main business is coming from?
Yes, it historically this hasn't really been this hasn't really changed. The CPC channel, so the indirect channel, has always been very strong, and for the last 8 years they always represented between say 44 and 51% of the sales. And the CBC channel, real proper direct channel, represent about 30 to before it used to be 40%. And the facsimile between 20 and 30% of the sales. The corporate and international are not really active within therefore. They have never really picked up on it, but it started quite about a year ago, having some serious project. The account managers are finally starting to interest themselves to the F4.
Ah, right. And would they be focusing on larger deals or more like the corporate side of the town?
What for the corporate and international, or
Yes.
for everyone? Well, we have some very big companies as customers of Therefore. We have Alstom, we have Thales. Those are in Belgium, but it's also it's French companies. So that's why I'm saying the French guys are starting to interest themselves, because they see that their counterparts in Belgium are signing up the very big French companies. So we do big names, big structures, big projects, and we are doing big deals. Yeah, the biggest deal is about 2,000 users.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Thank you.
So, in terms of solution sales, do you have solution consultants or pre-sales consultants at Canon France selling only software like Therefore, Uniflow, etc., or it is not differentiated?
We do have solution consultants. I think, like everywhere else in the world at Canon, most of them used to be technicians a long time ago, and they became technical consultants and then solution consultants. Um, Canon France has tested quite a lot of things. When I started working with them 10 years ago, they were all selling all solutions. Then they were split into two very distinct way of working. So they were not allowed to discuss any solutions that were either IM for those who were working on Uniflows or OM, and same for the ones who were selling IM, or not selling but working on IM projects. And today, this has changed a couple of years ago. Now the rule is slightly different. The IM solution consultants are not allowed to work on projects that are under 20K, and the OM consultants, so the Uniflow consultants, are working solely on Uniflow and output management solutions. And if it's small solution under 20K or online solution, then they can work on it.
Oh, okay.
So it's, to be honest, it's quite complicated, practically speaking, to split.
It does sound like that. And so your pre-sales consultants, are they certified? So, and what I mean is that we have quite a few training programs for Therefore, and it does give you a certification if you complete them. Is that required to sell the solution or to do any pre-sales?
We don't have certification as such, but all the consultants are following a 5-day training when they start, and then the workflow training, the training that are set up by Therefore and learning and development at Canon, and every year obviously they have to follow the refresher training.
Mm-hmm. And what's the number of these pre-sales consultants in your region? Do you have many of them assisting the sales teams?
Yes. They're essential. If you don't have solution consultants, it's if you don't have solution consultant, that means you have to have salespeople that are extremely competent with very specific profile, who are able to talk a solution, project the customer into a better organization, be able to speak technical aspects with the customer, able to talk IT or architecture sometimes. So it's impossible. If in the Canon environment anyway, it's very, very difficult or very rare to have this kind of profile who can be at the same time account managers for all the Canon portfolio and be able to play the role of the consultant. Even here at Canon France, there's 6 dedicated IM account managers who are very competent and who can talk IT without any problem, but even they need their consultant to have the real team in front of the customer. When you talk a project, it's very important to have a team that has a competence for addressing the customer and having the right credibility. So there's about 20 consultants in France, about, let's say, well, there's 40 consultants in total. I would say there's between 15 and 12 and 18 solution consultants that are dedicated information management. I say this
Wow.
because sometimes it varies, but the 12 of them have been there for years. I mean, they're very loyal. They know very well the solution.
Yeah, that's yeah, I completely agree on that. It's very crucial to have those solution consultants and supporting a number of salespeople, because sales enablement is still a little bit tricky, given that Canon is focusing on hardware, and it's just a little bit hard to do something completely new and expect them to understand everything and talk that high level IT language. Completely agree with that one.
The regions that are working the best in France definitely have a great team with account managers to bring leads, dedicated account managers who can take over so that the MFP account managers are concentrating on their business, and then the IM dedicated salesperson take over the project and bring this dynamism, momentum in the project with the solution consultant. It's a real team. And then there's the implementation specialist. This is essential. If you don't have this, it's very difficult to make business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on those points. Just streamlining that operation is quite crucial to success. Now, I'd like to
Solution
talk a
consultants are
little
key,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a bit about you being a therefore employee but working with Canon France. So, how are you working closely with Canon sales? Would you describe your working relationship with the team? How is it for you and to work with the Canon guys?
I think in one word, I would say teamwork. In two words, I would say partnership. It's yes. The answer is yeah. We're very, very close. We have always been working extremely closely together. I work very closely with marketing. I work very closely with professional services. I work very closely with sales. I work very closely with everyone in the top management. And I have regular chats with the country directors, or regular meeting, but that's obviously a lot less often. But France is a very big country, so minimum once a year I have a meeting with the country director, face to face, for at least a couple of hours. It's but the top management, we have our regular monthly meeting for a day where I see marketing management, everyone in the marketing team. Then I see the sales, and we review the pipeline together. And then I see the professional service team for a couple of hours, and then we have a 2-hour meeting on CSS, because there's over 1,000 contracts in France, so there's always great work to do on inside sales. So these are monthly meetings, but I have practically a daily chat with everyone. So very close relationship.
Yeah, well, that sounds really good, and yeah, actually, does sounds like a dream to me. And as an exclusive partner to Canon, it is quite critical to have strong working relationship and have the transparency and trust. And well, we are all in this together. We are one team after all. So it seems like that you have a strong top management support. I think that's very essential for software sales at Canon as well.
It is essential. If you don't have top management sponsorship, then the sales will not be interested. The regions in France where the sales are booming, and when I say booming, it's they have been extremely regular in their success, because in the last 5-6 years they have always been minimum double the revenue as everyone else, and last year they were 4 or 5 times over the revenue, and this year they're already 4 times over the revenue of everyone else. So they're extremely successful, and that's the region, I would say, with the biggest management support. There is not a single sales meeting where the regional manager is not talking about their foreign solutions. He's able to discuss solution openly with customers, and yeah, there is not a single customer meeting as a result of that where the account managers, MFP account managers, are not talking solution, and they're quite autonomous in helping the customer to project himself in a new organization. So that's a very strong point. Top management support is essential, and that's what I would say resellers are doing such a good job, and Facsimile is doing such a good job as well, is because they are very independent, and you can really feel the dynamism and the leadership of the manager. As soon as the regional manager is deciding something, you can feel it instantly instilled in the team.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, thanks for that feedback. I think it's a very valuable point.
I would also add to that sales guys are anyway de facto motivated by their pay plan, and the pay plan is defined by top management. So the first sign of management sponsorship is the adaptation of the pay plan to a sales solution on a sustainable way, and not in a one-shot draw present, you know. So that's the first time of top management sponsorship.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned because so do you have therefore built into the sales team's KPIs? Because
Yes.
here we have an MFD target and then the software target, but the software can be any software product, Uniflow, Iris, etc.
No, there is for a few years now they have solutions targets and IM targets and OM targets in their pay plan. It's split, and for the last year they even have a really good target on there for online, and we'll probably touch on it later, where they are commissioned on their overall revenue of the whole project. So if they sell it there for online with a 3-year commitment, even though it's a monthly payment, they will be commissioned on a 3-year revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, commission is definitely a motivating factor for a salesperson, and yeah, I think
Yeah, if not the sole one.
strings to pull. Yeah,
For a lot of them.
that's right. So here in Australia and Asia, we have different, therefore, editions. I know that the editions could be different for you and for us. Do you have, for us, it's the most popular one is therefore essentials. Do you have for like personal edition, work group, essentials, and business and online in your region, or you have different editions?
We don't have essentials in my region. We have something called Focus with a specific configuration as well, but which I want to stop. So I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it's quite similar to Essentials. And then we have the personal edition, work group edition, and business edition. Personal edition, I want to scrap it, so I want to get rid of it. It's work it's work, and it's not bringing much revenue, and I think it's hindering the image of Therefore. But it's not very important anyway, because the most popular edition for us, definitely since the start of Therefore, is the business edition. I was the product manager launching Therefore in France, and from the start, the main focus in the marketing communication was the workflow. For me, the workflow is a top value added feature of Therefore, and obviously having a organized structure way of looking for documents, even with a workgroup edition and a right classification, index search, etc., is interesting, but that's not what the customers, or that's not what 95% of the customers will sign for, because the ROI is and the added value with their strategic processes is not that obvious. So it's a lot easier to discuss added value and project and pricing and implementation of Therefore when you talk about workflow and automating processes.
So I think we answered the next question of like which editions you sell the most. So that's definitely business edition, hence.
Yeah, definitely.
Talking about sales, so what is a typical size of business for Therefore in France in terms of size? Like what the most you get off like this, the SMBs would be enterprise, or what would that be like?
The typical size of a Therefore customer, I would say in France average, because as you know, Therefore can be implemented in very small companies of one person even, or a couple of people, or it can be implemented in projects, like I said, of over a few thousand users. But I would say that the average customer is between 50 and 300 people. That's our average customer, or let's say 30 and 300 people. Because as I said, we focus quite a lot on workflow, even small workflows, and workflow can be implemented in very small companies, but it can bring a lot of value to companies with a few people who are, who have done their processes in a manual way, sometimes added a bit of DIY in their processes to match with their growing number of employees, and you need to structure all this. So it's Therefore has the quintessence of the value of Therefore is really in a company of over 30, 40 people.
Yeah, that's a very good insight for us. And in terms of like an SMB and larger business customers, so you mostly have the bigger business customers. Do you have smaller ones as well, or you have a lot of small business customers and some big ones?
It's a good split. It's a very good split. I would say there's a few workgroup edition, if we talk in terms of edition. So there's a few workgroup edition, and there's let's say 20% of workgroup edition and 80% of business edition, in terms of quantity. And in terms of revenue, there's 95% of business edition. So you can really see that the value is in the business edition. In terms of the ratio between the size of our customers, it's difficult to say, but I would say it depends what you call enterprise as well. But if we say that SMBs in France, an SMB is up to 200 users, 200 employees. So it depends also on the way the economy is built. But the ratio, we have a few very big customers and a few very small customers. But I would say, as I was saying before, that most of our customers are between the 30 and 200, 300 employee range.
Yeah, that's still fairly large, and business that explains why you're selling business edition mostly, because that would be just a complete suitable market for them.
But we could focus on workgroup edition and focus on, we could do this and focus on focus edition as well. But this wouldn't really make sense in terms of profitability, have a quick sales cycle, because even if a project is more expensive, it's a lot quicker to sell if you have real added value to sell to the customer.
Yeah. Yeah, that is for sure. So what do you think about vertical market positioning?
Well, we were just talking about profitability, and vertical market positioning is key to be as profitable as possible. It's working on vertical markets enables the sales guys to be focused, to understand a market, to use the right terminology, to use references, to be a lot quicker in helping the customer in finding the key points of improvement. So, and for Canon, vertical markets are a very good way to have packaged applications and to offer plug and play applications and quick sales cycle and great added value for their customers. So really, vertical market positioning is very interesting. I wouldn't say which ones to focus on, because we have customers in every vertical market, but it really depends on the country, the economy of the country, the main industries of the country, etc. Our domain of expertise are documents, information, and processes. So it can be any vertical market. There are some vertical markets in here in France that are not interesting at all for us, like lawyers or solicitors, etc. But otherwise, apart from that, they're all very interesting, and we can bring a lot of added value to any kind of verticals.
Mm-hmm. And talking about positioning, do you target certain horizontal markets?
Yes, we do. We have started off 9 years ago or when we started launching that for 10 years ago already. I pushed the incoming invoices, sorry, from the start. We also pushed the digital mailroom. I would be a little bit more tiptoeing for you on the digital mailroom, because out of experience, digital mailroom is transverse across the whole company. So it's a lot longer in terms of sales cycle. It's a lot longer in terms of decision making, in terms of project management, because it's addressing the whole company. So I wouldn't really start on this, but incoming invoices is very interesting because it's a strategic process of the company. There's clear benefits to address this market. So this is one. And then outgoing invoices, that can be extremely interesting for customers as well, because you avoid printing, putting under envelopes, sending, etc. So sending through, therefore, with the workflow onto a portal, for example, is a lot more interesting for the customers, and it can be totally transparent and very easy to implement. So this can be a good one. CVs also can be very good horizontal markets. So yes, CVs brings to the HR. HR is a very good horizontal. It's very wide. Canon people are a little bit skeptical because it's not usually the people they talk to, but you can address them. There's a very good speech to have, a very good story to tell with, therefore.
Uh-huh. And in terms of the incoming invoices solution, do you work together with the capture solution, like Iris?
We do. We can't really talk about incoming invoices without talking about capture. So so we do work with Iris for the direct channel, and some of the resellers are working with Iris and other solutions that they have in their portfolio, obviously, because they choose what solution they want to work with. So yeah, it's incoming invoices are definitely having a capture component in it.
Yeah, as long as it integrates well with, therefore, that's really the end-to-end solution. And yeah, there are a couple other applications other than Iris here locally in our markets what works well with their force. So from that point of view, that's quite easy.
Mhm.
So in terms of selling, so what are the biggest focus points you encourage Canon friends for selling there for specifically?
In terms of selling, in focus points in terms of approach, I would definitely focus on being concise, being focused. Do not revolutionize the whole company at once. Don't go all over the place. Try to start with a small perimeter, and then it's upselling. 40% of our turnover in France is linked to upselling, which is huge. So that's very important. So start small, stay focused, and also as an account manager, I would say do not talk IT. Our job in sell is to help the customer to project himself into a better way of working. There is no need to talk about IT in that phase. An account manager do not need to know anything about technology, and that's very important because I saw a lot of account managers, and I can still see a lot of them trying to answer IT questions, trying to get into our features, etc. There's no need for that. What I say to sales managers is that they are, and account managers and BPCs, which are dedicated IM sales guys, our job is a little bit like being a doctor for companies. You pinpoint the symptoms and you bring the medicine to actually make that a lot more streamlined and a lot more efficient. So I would really say to account managers, do not talk IT, stay focused on the concept and on the benefits. And then to consultants, I would say stay on a small perimeter. Stay focused. That's very important.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. And I
It's
guess,
key. Really.
yeah, our job is just really listen and ask what the problems are, what the main focus points are for the customers, what they want to change in their business. And depending on who we're talking to, is it a director, is it an ID manager, we can always modify that bit of a question, and based on that, we're gonna get the answers. It's definitely
Mhm.
something, but also very crucial is revisiting the customer. It's
Yeah.
something great is fantastic, but it's really essential to come back and just run a health check, just to ask how they're going with the implemented solution, how much they like it, what's their feedback, and what else
Mm.
can we help them once they got to know what Therefore can do.
Yeah. I would say it's from experience, it's difficult for MFP salespeople from Canon to actually ask those open questions and be able to hear where the issues are. So from experience, they have so many products in their portfolio that it's quite difficult for them to have a consultative approach and to have a pull approach rather than the push approach. So that's why vertical pre-packaged solutions are very good for them because it eases the whole process and the approach to the customer. But and going talking about approaching the customer and keeping the momentum, that's also extremely important. You're totally right. And that's key because otherwise people carry on working as they have always done. So there's no emergency to set up an information management system. So that's why it's important to keep that momentum. And as an example, yesterday I was at customer meetings, and I suggested to the information management dedicated sales guy to sell a contract with the customers we saw yesterday, a contract where every month he would go back 2-3 hours or half a day at the customer once a month to see how he's using the solution and what other approach, what other application, what other usage they can implement in the company. So that's something that Canon is not used to doing, but customers, and we tested that yesterday when I talked to the customer and I said, okay, well, would you be interested in that type of contract? And both customers I saw morning and afternoon were very interested in that. So there's a real need for customers to say, yes, we know we have to go through transformation, digital transformation. We don't know where to start, and we need help and assistance for that. So there, it's good for them, and we can help them out and support them in this transition and keep the momentum, keep the dynamism. So we can sell a solution very focused on a small perimeter at the start, and then build the solution with the customer and make it evaluate with time, because transformation will happen over a few months, a few years.
Yeah, that's right. And this is really, it's almost like it's a long-term relationship. It's if chances are, if they're doing whatever they're doing right, their business will be always growing. And that's when we can also upscale the Therefore solution within their infrastructure too. So we did touch on this earlier a little bit about package solutions. Do you think, well, I think you think that they could be successful. Is there anything you want to elaborate on this one?
No, I think it important is to be concise. So it's the sales in same in the sales pitch. So package solutions are great, and as a BDM, it's our role to help them identify some package solution, but then maybe yes, I could elaborate a little bit to say package solution will only work if there is real marketing campaigns behind it. So yes, you can do the best package solution configured in Therefore, etc. If there is not a marketing campaign behind it and a sponsorship of the Canon people, this will not work. Definitely, it will be a totally flat result. So it's very important that those package solutions are defined with Canon, and work on maybe 1, 2, 3 packaged application. Have a clear sales pitch, clear questions to ask, clear benefits, clear target audience, and maybe organize events for this, webinars for this, digital communication on this. But this can only work if it's 100% supported by Canon entities, and then drilled back to the resellers also on the indirect channel. So yes, package solution will only work if there is integrated campaign behind it.
Yes, absolutely. And now I wanted to talk about Therefore Online a little bit. This has been a little bit of a unicorn for us. We launched it a couple of years ago, and the sales started really slow. I guess the value proposition was a little bit different. So all of a sudden, from big sales with big commission, we went down to little sales, then month by month sales. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it, see how you overcame these challenges. So do you have Therefore Online in your markets?
Yes, we do. For in all markets, so in all around Europe. We do. I have to say, we launched it in 2011 in France, and in Belgium. It started off very slow. In Belgium, it was only picked up by one reseller. Well, there's only two resellers, so but it was only picked up by one reseller, and not the direct channel. And for France, it was not picked up at all at the start, and it only started off a few years back. So let's say three years ago, and it's really picking up now because we've changed, as I was saying quite early in the webinar, where Canon France has changed the pay plan and is now paying the account managers on the TCV, so on the total cost of, or the TCO, total cost of ownership, or total value of the project. So it's so that's making a very big difference.
And so based on that, what's the uptake of the product? Like, so how many Therefore Online customers do you have altogether?
In France, there's definitely not as much as I would like to. There's about 55 customers. But we have signed a relatively big therefore online customer at the beginning of the year, Truffaut, which is a gardening chain. So that was quite interesting with over 50 licenses, and there's really good in Europe. There's also really good references in the finance business, in the automobile industry as well. So very well renowned customers. So I we have some really good customers in France, and I'm really hoping that this will grow. We have also set up a system for the reseller channel, which is the prepaid, and the prepaid is it can go into financing of a solution and with the MFP, and this enables the reseller to commission more easily their account managers on the total cost of the project, or the total
So
revenue of the
pretty much
project.
is based on prepaid. So how how long ahead can they prepay? Is it on a yearly basis or you have multiple years as well?
No, it's three. Prepaid is 3, 4, or 5 years. We called it
Uh-huh.
therefore 345.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like a really good model because from that point of view, the commission is taken care of, the actual income is taken care of, and even Canon Finance,
Mm.
it's got a bit of an input there as well. So, and so do you find this more successful than the good old month by month idea?
It depends. It's very successful with resellers, because because I think for them it's better to get the revenue up front. And for the direct channel, again, when you speak to some account managers, they say, well, for them there's not much interest because anyway, with their financing and the finance rate, etc., for the customer, it's there's not much revenue added. So we're trying to find a way that it doesn't impact much the customer, so that he has a good deal still at the end of the day and an advantage to sign up for a few years. So we're actually trying to adapt this, but we launched it less than a year ago, and it has been very successful initially, and since January they are being paid on the total value of the deal anyway. So now we're trying to think about a way to bring some discount to the customer if he commits himself to 3, 4, or 5 years upfront and buying upfront the solution.
Yeah, that would be a
The
really
sales
good
pitch,
driver.
yeah, if you talk to resellers, some resellers have been telling me very rightly that anyway, the customer will not set up an information management system only for a few months. So the 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 discussion is on the long term with the customer. So it's it's not it's not a nonsense to actually commit to 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, because if I put an information management solution in place, it's to keep it for the for a long time, because it's structuring my company.
Yeah, and if anything, for a customer, it's a peace of mind, and it's good for them to know that their everything is taken care of at least for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Mm,
So it's
yeah.
definitely a good approach I find.
Mm.
So I wanted to touch a little bit on competition. So what does market competition look like in France?
Well, I think as everywhere else, it's a fierce competition. We do have similar competitors. I think you also have competitors like M-Files, DocuWare, Elo, or we have a very little practically non-existent DocuShare. We have Laserfish, we have OnBase. So I think these are, Everteam. I don't know if you have Everteam as well, but these are solutions that are in the same market as us, addressing similar customers. So obviously, we have this fierce competition. We it's nice to be kept on our toes. It helps us to grow as well. So that's sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. That's the way the business goes. We have strength in some areas, for some compared to some resellers, and some resellers, sorry, to some competitors. Our workflow, for example, is a strength in some cases. The easiness of configuration of our solution designer is definitely a very good strength. Our integration with Office application is a very good strength. Some of our connectors are extremely good, like SAP connectors, quite unique. So it's easier to address some vertical markets with the SAP connector and target SAP customers with SAP integrators as partners. So yeah, we do have strengths and very good messages to pass over. Yesterday I was with a customer and I presented him the Therefore Online. He said that the interface was very nice compared to other solutions he saw, because it was a very good look and feel with Office applications. So the adhesion and the change management was a lot easier for him. So yeah, we do have strengths, and obviously we have weaknesses compared to others. But that's the way the game is played, huh?
Yeah, that's for sure. And the one thing that's always mentioned to me is the our interface, like how intuitive it is compared to other solutions. Just the fact that we have a workflow inbox and you really can't miss anything. You're always on top of everything you need to do. So yeah, that's a pretty good feedback when it comes to competition. It's nice to know these little details so we can focus on our strength.
Yes. I would just add something about competition before going to another question. Two things really. I wouldn't really focus and give a competition matrix and analysis and comparison as such, and communicate it heavily, just because the business we're in is very active and changes a lot. So if we have a competitor who doesn't have a feature now, it doesn't mean that he's not going to have that feature in 3 months or 6 months time. So we have to be careful when we talk to customers about competition and having or not having that or this feature. So that's very important. Then so I would really say that if you are against competition, it's really interesting a lot more than looking at past comparison. But it's very important to have a look at the current website with their current help. Some of them have a approachable help which is open to everyone, like DocuWare. You can check whether or not they have this or that feature. But I would really say look at the website first of your competitor and have the vibe of what they offer, the features, their approach, how they're structured, etc., etc. And then the second very important point about competition is that what really makes or breaks the deal is the team that the customer will have in front of him or her. That's as we said, setting up an information management solution is not like buying a machine. It's something that structures the company. So the customer needs to feel that he can trust the people he's talking to, and he can have reliable contacts, who he can work with on the long term, and that the people he's talking to and people who will be the partners will be helping the company for the next few years in the digital transformation. So the credibility of the team is very important, and that you can be more expensive, you can have features that are less interesting in some cases than others, but what will make the deal is also a big chunk of the decision is who they will sign up for the next few years.
Yeah, that is a very valid point. Sales cycles and implementing the solutions, it is a long time, and at the end of the day, if you do like the people you work with and you can trust them, you can rely on them, that's an absolute essential for an IMS business to work. Definitely comes over competition. Um, so why do you think what Scan & Friends is doing to be successful, what other regions might not be doing? Just sort of to give a bit of a recap of everything we've talked today.
So Canon France is successful. It's the top country in the world in terms of revenue. That's good, and that's very good. But I would say they're not as successful as they could be. But and I think everyone would agree to this. In France, we always have bigger objectives and bigger targets, and you know, the sky is the limit, as we say. But the reason why I say this is because the sales of therefore are really focused in one or two regions of France, and historically that has been like this. So if every region was doing the same, Canon France could be 10 times more successful. And when I say the same is really all the things that I've said, so they are implementing it, naturally. So first, the account managers are not talking IT, they are talking about how Canon can help the customer to work better and more efficiently. So they can really help the customer again to project himself in a better way of working, and really pushing the fact that Canon is the right partner for this. Then the consultant is keeping it focused on a short perimeter, not a wide high revolution of the company. Short perimeter, strategic perimeter. Start with this and then you upsell. Third point, keep the dynamism, keep the momentum. Okay, the customer do not have any emergency to put up a solution system in most cases. So it's important to actually hold the hand and go through this digital transformation, which is compulsory anyway for every company in the world at the moment, in the developed countries anyway. So that's very important. Keep the momentum as soon as you know that the customer is ready to go. Then top management sponsorship, extremely important. Adapted pay plan, extremely important. To be profitable, short sales cycle, package solution, very important, with an integrated marketing campaign behind, and the Canon marketing team really key role in that development. So that's the 5 points that I would say are very important.
So do you think that your other provinces will increase and learn from those best performers within France?
We've been trying. We've been trying to do this. It's difficult. I don't know why. We have those salespeople talking about their success. We have the consultant talking about his success, but it depends on the profile of people. You cannot change the personality of people. So that's also a very big key in the profile that are working. And also, you cannot change the way a team is working together. In some regions, you have excellent IM dedicated salespeople, but it's more difficult for them. In some regions, you have excellent consultants. In some regions, you have excellent account managers. In some regions, you have very good top management, regional top management. But it's the cocktail of a very good profile of each of these guys who will work very well together, and a team that you can, that brings this credibility in front of the customer. So that's that what makes it. And you know, and then implementing all the other keys.
Yeah, it is just a matter of finding that really nice cocktail with all the right elements at the same time. That's really the beauty of this. And I agree with you. It's really the people who make it real. I know a couple of very valuable. If we didn't have them, we certainly would not get those definitely bigger, smaller, or whatever deals, because it is really just it takes a person to drive it, and maybe his or her passion is also rubbing on others too.
Mm. But it's that is very important, and some countries can say, "Ooh la la," but I don't have all those profiles, I don't have all those people. I mean, I'm talking about these kind of team are making bigger projects, you know, and they're essential on very big projects. But obviously, you don't need all those this armada if you address smaller companies. You know, it's the short sales cycle. If you talk to those resellers or to those regions who are working very well, they're doing big projects, but they're also doing small projects of 10K with professional services, etc. And this, when you talk to them, they say yes, we sell them quickly in 2-3 meetings, a very short sales cycle.
Yeah, that is it's absolutely crucial, yeah, for us to keep that in consideration.
Mm.
So as in a little bit of a recap again, well, I guess you've been with Canon friends, well, and therefore for a long time, and for you to drive this business and build this business really took a little bit. What is your recommendation for us? We want to grow our business, increase profitability. We want to delight our customers with therefore solutions. And I feel like that even though we launched the product quite a while ago, we still sort of need a bit of an action plan what's a little bit longer. It's like almost a yearly plan what we could just track and just to find out how we can make this happen as well.
I would say it's a real work, a real teamwork with Canon to if you're starting the business to focus on packaged application. So plug and play application, easy to find the value for customers. Work on that first, and then you upsell and then you roll out. And so be present with the customer, and the customer can feel that you can bring the value that he needs for his company. So packaged application, short sales cycle, high profitability, and high value for the customer. This is the key for everyone. Then I would say what is important is to build on the existing success. So what I have in France is the Therefore User Club, and I've met some existing customers again yesterday, and they were looking forward to the next Therefore User Club and meet and mingle with other customers and talk about the project and give them ideas, etc. So build on the current customers and the current references. Then, if you, I would say also try to find the champions within the Canon organization. Maybe all account managers are not interested, which is totally understandable. In a training, usually what I could find was between 10 people, there's two really that are really focused, interested, and have the right profile for addressing that to the customer. So, and then in the 10 there's others that are not interested at all, and can actually disrupt the training. Some that are interested but who might not have the right profile, and might struggle a little bit more, and then not reach the target as quickly enough as they would like, so getting frustrated. So I would really find the champions and work with those champions, to for them to become ambassadors. And there's loads of other little tips. It's important to incentivize the right people. So I have the Therefore Gold Club in France, and the Gold Club from the start was not incentivizing the account managers because they had their Canon incentives already, but that was incentivizing the consultants. And it's not so much an incentive, it's also recognition of the work because the consultants are so important in the sales cycle. So it's important to and have a lot of webinar. The important thing is to be credible, to be present. So digital communication today is key for visibility, and I would really recommend to have strong digital communication campaigns.
Yeah, that's yeah, thank you for that. These are that's a very good recommendation for us. Could you elaborate a little bit on the Therefore User Club you mentioned?
Yes, the Therefore User Club is a club inviting all customers who have active Therefore maintenance contracts, and all size of the whole country. It was a national event last year, and we don't even pay for transportation or hotels, etc. It was on one day last year, and people came from all over France, so that was a real success. Actually, customers paid for their transportation, and we talked about GDPR. I think even though you're not directly concerned by GDPR in Australia, you probably heard about it. So data protection, personal
Yeah,
data
yeah, we
protection.
have our own PAA for this matter. So same,
Okay.
same.
So yeah, so we talked about this and how Therefore could help. We talked about HR. We had customer presenting what they have done internally. We talked about how to manage change management in a company. We talked about the legal context of some aspects in France which are changing, and how it impacts the way information management is dealt with. So we talk about various topics, and customer experience is very important, testimonials, and very important part of the user day. So even though you might not have as many customers in your countries, it's very important to capitalize on this.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thanks, Charlene. That was really great, and thanks for giving us all these insights. And we talked about so many valuable points. We received a couple of questions. Because we're running out of time, I'm gonna read out only a few, and the rest of them we will send it to you guys, who sent the question. So there is one here. So how's Australia's revenue performance compared to France? Yeah, well, I agree with this question. We sort of need to understand where we stand and how we're ranking compared to the best. So, while I'm just thinking how to answer this question and be politically correct. So basically, what I can tell you is that last year, France generated about 5 times more revenue than Australia. So this is a big difference. And I hope this gives a bit of an indication for you guys of the size we're actually talking about. I've got another question, and this is for Charlene. Are there any incentives for your team to sell Therefore, but internally at Canon, or Therefore?
Both. There has been incentives to the salespeople done by Canon, and
Mm-hmm.
this there has been quite a few. They have their it's not an incentive, but obviously the Canon responsibility is directly linked to the pay plan. So even
Mm-hmm.
though it's a pay plan and it's not an incentive, it's a way of incentivizing people, obviously. So that's the Canon responsibility. And for the Therefore Gold Club is solely managed by Therefore, and that's rewarding and incentivizing the consultants and the dedicated IM account managers and I invite once a year, well, every year I invite one implementation specialist who has done a very good job on Therefore. Just because, as I was saying, information management is all about teamwork, and it's important for those people to know each other and to feel that they're part of a big community.
Yeah. So, and where you invite them, is that an incentive trip, or is that the trip to the innovation forum, or what is the actual goal?
Well, the Innovation Forum is in Austria. So for us it's a bit less exotic than going anywhere else.
All
It's
right,
only a 2 hour
that's just
flight.
for us.
So
We have these fantasies about the mulled wine and the Christmas markets, but for you
yes,
guys, it's not
which
so
is
much.
absolutely great, and it's an absolute fantastic place to be. But I last year I took with me to the Innovation Forum the top consultant, and he absolutely loved the Innovation Forum. I would like to take a lot more people, and the country director of BIS, what we call Information Solution unit of Canon, said was there last year, and he said, "Oh my God, that's amazing! That's an amazing event. We need to have everyone to come." So I couldn't agree more. I also invite the top resellers to the Innovation Forum, but a more incentive, as a bigger incentive and more of a fun incentive, I always opted for a trip because I'm a fervent supporter of federation and having a team spirit. So I'm not as supportive of I don't know, we call it bon avas in France, so just sending some vouchers. I'm not so much of a fan of this because I'd rather everyone to get to know each other better, have a very good experience, lifetime experience, and something that we can all remember for forever. So and for the people to get to know each other better, as they are working in different regions, they don't know each other that much. So
So,
I'm more for a trip.
right. So, where did you go last year?
Last year we went to Dubai.
Wow, sounds good.
Yeah, it was
Excellent.
absolutely fantastic, and everyone everyone wanted to win, and same for this year. But before that, we went to Lapland all those in Europe. It's very exotic for us.
Oh, wow. That sounds really good. Well, I'm afraid that we run out of the time, although I feel like we could talk to Charlene forever. She's giving fantastic advices and insights. But unfortunately, this is it for today. Thank you so much for your questions. I will make sure that you get the answers in an email. Actually, I'll send it to everyone who attended.
Well, thank
Well,
you
thank
very
you so
much
much
for
for attending,
inviting me,
everyone.
and I
Thank
hope it was interesting.
Thanks so much, Charlene. It was really a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm sure I'm going to get all the feedback from the field later. So, everyone, have a great evening and day, depending on which time zone you are in. And please don't forget to subscribe to our next week's webinar, and that's about Therefore 2018 feature and introduction. And stay tuned for more webinars on Therefore Radio. Thanks so much, everyone, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.